Hello everyone, welcome back to the another session in Principles of Programming Languages. Today we will start the third unit. Third unit is all about subprograms. Now before we see what is subprogram and different strategies in subprograms respective to many programming languages, there is a fundamental concept what is the based for subprograms, which is scope and lifetime of a variable. When I say that we will be going to talk about subprograms, you can understand a program can have number of modules. Each module I am naming as a subprogram. When I am introducing different kind of modules into a program, each subprogram will be allowed user to create a variable. Now we have to talk about what is the scope of a variable and what is the lifetime of a variable. Now let's talk about scope and lifetime of a variable. So what is a scope? The scope of a variable is the range of statements in which the variable is visible. I'll give an example. Let's say that I have created a function, a subprogram. Let's say subprogram is sub1 and int x. Now when I write this variable, we were already studied about how to declare a variable and what are the characteristics which will carried out by a variable. Now so this is a variable, this variable I have initialized into this subprogram, correct? Now what is the scope of this variable? As far as definition is considered, the scope of a variable is the range of statements in which the variable is visible. So the scope of this x variable is what? Only to this block. If I have other subprogram with the name of sub2, now I cannot use x here. The reason is what? Because I did not declare x into this sub2. Hence I cannot use x here in this one. Now that the same point we covered, that is a variable is local. Local is what? The variable in which area it is declared. So I have taken sub1 and sub2. In sub1 I declared a variable. In sub2 I wanted to use the variable. Now the local means the variable where you declared. So x is a local variable where it is declared. If I declared x into sub1, now x will be a local variable to this sub1. The non-local variables of a program unit or block are those that are visible within the program unit or block but are not declared there. Now we were talking about two kind of variables. The one is local variable, the other one is global variable. Local is what? The variable which is defined inside of the subprogram. Now this variable is called as local variable. Now coming to this example, I have taken the other function which is sub2. Now I am calling it as subprogram. I did not declare a variable, but I am using this variable which is x is equal to y. But I did not declare what is x and what is y. Though I did not declare the x and y in the sub2, still that is valid statement. The reason is x and y may be global variables to sub2. Now let's see with an example how it will be from language to language. So the method of binding names to non-local variables called static scoping. The method of binding names to non-local variable is static scoping. The example is what? Algol 60. This is the programming language which has introduced static scoping into it. Static scoping is so named because the scope of a variable can be statically determined, that is prior to execution. There are two categories of static scoped languages. The first category is those in which subprograms can be nested and the programs cannot be nested. I will show you the example of nested and not nested. Let's see the one program example, and this program I have taken from JavaScript. So this program having multiple of subprograms. If you see subprogram 1 we have taken and subprogram 2 we have taken. But these two subprograms were initialized in big. Big is also a program. Big is also a subprogram which is defined sub 1 and sub 2. Now, sub 1, sub 2 are called as nesting, and big is called as outside of the function. Big is outside, sub 1 and sub 2 are inside of the functions. Now, we come to know about scope of static scoping and scope and lifetime and dynamic variable, local variable. Let's understand all these 5 different terminologies. I have taken function sub 1. In sub 1, I did not initialize any variable. If you see, I did not declare what type of variable x is. But you can see here function sub 2, I am just using this one. What I am using? I am using variable y, variable x. But I did not initialize y in this sub 2. Correct? Now, the variable of y, the variable x are initialized as global variable, or else it can be declared as a local variable. As far as this is concerned, this program is having nesting and the program is having declaration of x comma y. Correct? Now, variable x equal to 7, variable y is equal to x. If I wanted to know what is x, x I did not specify here with the name of var x. Where is what? var, where is what? It's a keyword in JavaScript to initialize a variable. Now I have taken this one. So in this statement, you can see what y is. Y is initialized, y is declared here. But I'm not talking about x. X scope is in sub 1. And x can be used here. The reason why x can be used is we were in nested classes or we were in nested subprograms. That's what I can use your x which is defined in the sub 2. Now, let's see what are the programming languages which support nested and not nested. So, nested are we were supporting, we do have a programming languages which are Ada, JavaScript. There are programming languages which are Ada and JavaScript. Even your C-based languages also you can consider. Now, let's see here Ada, JavaScript, Common Lisp, Scheme, Fortran, F# and Python will allow nested subprograms. But C-based languages will not allow nested subprograms. Whatever we were seen as an example, that example, we cannot implement that example in C-based languages. When I say it is C-based languages, please include C, C++ and C#. So that kind of languages will not use nested subprograms. Now let's see about a block. Now, what is a block? Block is many languages allow new static scope to be defined in the midst of executable code. And this powerful concept is introduced in Algol 60 as I have mentioned a point in the static scoping. So basically block will provide a block of statements what has to be executed. There is a much difference in between a block and a subprogram. Subprogram always will be declared in a main program with some parameters. But block is what? It's an area where we are performing some set of functions. Now, let's see about global scope. So, local and global, these two are the regular terms what we will see when we are creating a variable inside of the subprogram. So, generally local variable is what? A variable which is declared inside of a subprogram. Though I did not declare a variable in the subprogram, still I can use of it. So, I can use of it using two things. I will take an example. So, let's see an example. So, I am writing some subprogram sub1 and int x. Now, x is local variable to the sub1. Now, take the other example sub2 and I am not taking x here, I am taking y here. Now, I am writing y is equal to x. Right? Now look at this. Int x I am calling this as local. I am calling x as local variable. Here y is local variable, but x I did not specify. Though I did not specify, I am using it. Fine. Why I am using it? Because x is defined as a global. So always global variable will be defined above of these subprograms, or you can say even above of the main program. So let's say that int x semicolon. Now I am writing the subfunction sub1 and the variables, sub2 and the variables. Now, so x is what it is defined as global. When the variable is said to be global, when the variable is used in sub1 and sub2. Though you did not specify in sub1, you can use x because it is a global. Though you did not specify x over here, still you can use x because it is a global. Now, I can also create a variable in the local and I can say it is a global. Fine. Now, I will give an example. Sub1 int x. What I said, when I write x inside of the function, I have to say it is local. But how can I make local variable as global variable? When you wanted to do it, add extern keyword before of it. When you add extern keyword before of a variable, it will be a global variable. The variable which have extern keyword, the variable will act as a global variable. Fine. So if sum is defined in the local set or the local subprogram, you can say it is global when you find sum with extern keyword. If extern is not given, then sum will be a local variable. So this is about global and local. And the next is about referencing environment. Referencing environment is, the referencing environment of a statement is the collection of variables that are visible in the same environment or in the same statement. So referencing environments are where you will find the variable. In which statement you will find the variable, that area is called as referencing environment. So basically we do have some programming languages which support referencing environment. In Python, scopes can be created by function definition. The referencing environment of a statement includes the local variables plus all of the variables declared in the functions in which the statement is nested. So in Python, in other programming languages, let's say the languages what we were specified as JavaScript, there also will be having referencing environment. That's it. Thank you all.